is all about communications, and it's a very small topic. Certain things that you really want to know, certain things that are important. Mainly it's just general knowledge for your EMS experience, okay? Not too much medicine.
Test questions are on this?
Let's just start with the test question.
Not too many, but if there is, I will inform you. Verbal communication is vital. As you can understand, what we do is help other people. We need to communicate. We need to learn how to talk to other people, what words that are good to use on a call, what words are not so appropriate to be used. Verbal communication is really, really important for this job and doing it well. The other thing that's really important is documentation. We spoke about documentation on the first lecture. We will do another lecture all the way at the end on documentation itself and the proper way to document what you did. CYA is cover your
Abs.
Thank you.
Abs.
With the t-shirts that they're gonna give us.
So, communication systems, you have to understand that when, in the old days, we didn't have cell phones. You know, every 8-year-old kid didn't have a cell phone. It was not commonplace. And we actually carried this huge phone thing in the back of every ambulance. It was part of 800. You had to have it. You had to change the batteries. You had to make sure, almost had to, you know, crank it up manually. A huge thing, just in case you couldn't reach medical control or dispatch or whatever it was. It was part of 800. Today, cell phones are very commonplace. We still have radio communication, even though today a lot of places have moved over to digital radio communication. Most systems are still on an analog system. Analog system could be simplex or multiplex, the difference being that a simplex system, only one person can speak at one time, similar to the Hatzalah system, where if one person is talking, they take the entire airwave, they take the frequency, and nobody else can really be heard. Multiplex system has a way where multiple people can speak at the same time, and whoever...
How does it operate now?
Simplex.
911 uses simplex?
No, 911 moved to a digital system now.
Which means?
But we donate a lot of money to Hatzalah. It's time to move over to the multiplex. I'm gonna put that in instead.
What is digital mean?
Yeah, what is digital?
Digital's a completely different system. In Muncie, they just changed over to it.
Which means, how does the system work?
I don't really know exactly
It's
how
not
it
on the
works.
test.
Okay? We have a repeater based system. So the way it works in Hatzalah is different from the way 911 works. 911, all the repeaters bounce everything you say to everybody on that channel. So if I'm over here and you're 10 miles away and I say something on the radio, 911, you will hear it if you're on the same channel as me. In Hatzalah, it does not work like that. In Hatzalah, your radio can only be heard about half a mile. A regular portable radio. About half a mile. Anything further than that, you will not hear between radio and radio. The only people that hear everything is the bass. So the bass, everything is repeated, and we have repeaters all over the city, up the thruway, up into the Catskills, around the Catskills. There are repeaters everywhere, and they only bring the information to the dispatch. We won't hear it.
Some Hatzalah guys have repeaters. Mobile repeat, like on their, the ability to...
You can have mobile radios in your cars. I have one in my Suburban. I have a mobile radio that has a much greater wattage and can be heard for many, many more miles than the half mile of these 5-watt radios.
So when your radio went off in class a few times, you're only picking up what's locally?
I'm only picking up what the dispatcher sends. The dispatcher's radio sends When the dispatcher says something, it doesn't matter if they're literally sitting next door, which they are on Sunday nights, or if they're sitting in the Catskills, 100 miles away.
You'll hear it.
I will
The
hear it.
dispatcher next door is for Crown Heights also?
For the whole city.
Oh, really?
So then,
It's only one dispatch for the whole Hatzalah at any one time.
2 people.
2 people, one dispatch center is live at any one time.
Well, each neighborhood takes turns dispatching.
Correct, different days. They usually cover different
What if
days.
they have multiple calls at a time?
There's multiple people there.
They put them out. There's 2 people there. One answers the phone, one puts it out. Okay? It's really not so.
so the repeater-based system is only the central system?
That's the guys on.
What do you mean?
Meaning the base?
I think this slide had the most questions, and I don't think there's a single test question on
I
it.
don't even, I don't know, it doesn't make sense.
What do you mean? If they're sitting here next door and I'm 20 miles away,
Generally repeated
In-
means happens again, right?
what?
The word repeated means happens again.
No, no.
Let's explain, because we gotta get past it, okay? You're standing over here, he's in the Catskills, right? Repeater, sorry about that.
Repeater,
right?
me.
The only way that you're gonna hear each other is if you're next to each other. But the repeater allows the dispatcher who's up in the Catskills to communicate with you. Repeat, bounce, bounce, bounce.
It bounces off
If
of
you
that
talk
to
on your
there,
radio-
that to me.
Only Agent 47 can hear you because he happens to be right next to you.
Thank you.
It's like the 2 mile radios we bought when we were kids.
Exactly, from Toys R Us.
The Hatzalah radios go less than those Toys R Us kid radios.
Why is that?
It's the way they're
No
designed.
need for it, they don't need to speak to each other, they
No,
got
but
to
half a
dispatch.
mile is very, so you can even speak to someone in Crown Heights? for instance?
Not if you're on East New York and he's on Eastern Park.
You only have to talk to
Oh.
dispatch.
You may not be able.
When you respond, the dispatcher can pick you up.
Dispatch, is there a way to like press the button
It's not the
to play it
repeater,
again?
the base. There are
It's live.
repeaters that
Correct.
bounce.
It's not recorded.
That's what he said.
Now.
You asked the base to repeat what they said.
Right, he was saying they repeat
Do
it.
they have recorded back at base? They record it?
Every single thing that is said on Hatzalah dispatch is recorded.
That is a test question, by the way. One of the ways to good communication is to repeat back what you heard on the radio.
Yeah, but it's not a test question.
It was on the online lectures.
Private fund test question?
Let's move on. We use a lot of codes in EMS. We use a lot of codes because it's clearer and it's simpler to use than actually saying all the words all the time. Now, the codes that are used in Hatzalah are different from the codes that are used on 911. When you go do your rotation, you will hear and see codes that are being used. A few of them will be used in Hatzalah. Most of them will never be used in Hatzalah. And most Hatzalah members do not know New York City EMS codes. Understand also that New York City EMS codes differ from fire department codes, and they differ from police department codes. And then once you get out of New York City and you go to Chicago, then all bets are off. Everything will be different. So it's not the same. It's very, very specific.
My name's gonna be a test answer one day, and it's gonna be like, he decided to make all the codes Unicode. No, it's called the Langer code, and I'm gonna be the answer. Why is it all different? It's because it's created. Wouldn't it make sense?
So everybody communicate.
Would have made sense.
It's not too late.
Even more fun is that the police department is on a different channel and frequency to EMS, which is different to fire department, and one can't even really communicate with the other. So it's just great. But let's not worry about it. Let's just move on.
He's gonna be on the test.
No. If I say it is, then it will be. Unnecessary communication is frowned upon by the FCC. So, this is something that's important to understand. You cannot get on the air and ask somebody, could somebody tell me where's the best shawarma in Cedarhurst, okay? That is frowned upon by the FCC. Not only frowned upon, the FCC actually owns the frequency. So Hatzalah's frequency can be put into jeopardy if a Hatzalah member is saying things that are inappropriate on the air. So it's strictly for medical dispatch, getting information about the patient, and getting to the hospital, yes.
How often does a child get a hold of a radio?
It's rare. And if it does, then it's nobody's fault. Okay, we move on.
What's worse is when they sit on the, what's it called?
Yes. All right, these are New York City codes. You will not be tested on them. I'll just run through some of them so you know, so you have some idea when people talk. Like, sometimes we talk, I'll talk in these codes to people. It's quite normal thing to do.
Yeah.
So if you're 63, you're 1063, it means you're on the way. In EMS, it means you're on the way from wherever you were sitting to the call. You're 63, you're on the way. I once answered a Hatzalah call. I'd just been on an EMS shift for 8 hours, and I was driving home, and he asked me, okay, so CH38, can you proceed to whatever avenue or street it was? I said, yes, H-base, I'm 63. And he answered me back, oh, I thought you were 38. So I lost him completely in communication, bad communication, okay? Because he had never heard of that code.
63.
All right? He never heard of that code. All right? So 63 on the
Is
way,
that not
double
a,
eight.
is that not a Hatzalah?
No, Hatzah does not use them.
Oh, so what is... So
Proceeding.
Oh.
Okay? We use very few codes.
What is Williamsburg Hatzalah? Is that?
We use very few codes. Double 8 or 84, same thing, means you arrived on the scene. In EMS, you have to log every single step. In Hatzalah, we don't. We do afterwards. It's pretty much made up. Backed up most of the time. It's nonsense.
Question about that. The paper, it says something about keeping a log. What are you gonna give us instructions about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you need to know. So double 8 or 84 is on the scene at the patient. 82 means I'm going to the hospital. Again, Hatzah tracks it, but not officially, not over the air. 81 when you're at the hospital, and 98 means you're ready for the next call, you're back in service. On the new EPCRs that Hatzah is using, these times are all documented. However, they are not documented the way EMS does it. In EMS, there's a button on your screen that you press when you are 63, double 8, 81, 82, 98. There are buttons to press, and it gets logged.
What's 89?
Back in location.
What's
Okay.
98?
98 means you're out of the hospital, available. 89 means you're at your location that you were assigned.
So they're supposed to sit in a spot?
Yes, every EMS ambulance has a spot where they must be 89.
Oh, so they're not just hiding out watching movies when I see them by the beach?
No, they are, but that's their 89.
That's their 89.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be 89 during our shift.
Not the whole time.
Oh yeah,
Hopefully
it
not
depends
whole
on the
time.
crew. Yes, if not, then fire department's going to give them a hard time. So whenever they're sitting, you can ask them, is this your 89? They'll
they'll
be
be like,
very
"Get outta
impressed. You'll be like, wow, this guy.
They're gonna answer you back in 16 other numbers.
Yeah, but fine. But that would at least give them the illusion
Maybe the
of your
icebreaker.
intelligence.
Their engine idles the entire
But then they're gonna
Yes,
ask you
engine idles the entire time. They're not paying for the gas, the hospital.
gas up.
Gas up. Very good. Good question. Again, these are fine questions based on this. You're not allowed to get less than a quarter of a tank. If you're a quarter of a tank, you have to go out of service, critical fuel. Okay? Now, usually you can gas up whenever you want, but you have to gas up in a 98 status. That means even if you're gassing up, you're still available to take a call. You're just not in your 89, but you're still available. They see your GPS where you are. So you will still be assigned calls even if you're on the pumps. But if you get less than a quarter, then you go out critical fuel, then they put you out of service, you go gas up, and then you go back to your 98, 89
Yeah,
status.
buses are regular
Diesel.
gas, diesel.
Diesel, most. The newer Hatzalah buses, I think, are gas now. I'm not very sure. I've never filled gas in a regular bus. The EMS buses that I used to use were diesel.
And you can go to standard gas?
No, it depends on your agency. We had a card in the bus that you would pay. You had to go to a certain gas station that accepted that card, and they would check the plates and everything, and you would swipe that card, and somehow it would get billed to the hospital. Okay?
A fleet card. That's exactly how they do it.
Every agency does it slightly differently, okay?
It's just so funny to see.
Alright, so communicating with the hospital medical direction. Let's talk about the difference between New York City and the Catskills, for example. In New York City, all hospitals that have emergency rooms, that are 911 receiving hospitals, are expecting patients to be brought in by ambulance. This is what they do. Okay, they are extremely busy, and they expect that ambulances will bring patients in. It's quite a shocker. Now, if you go out of the city, for example, the Catskills, they may be sitting with the lights off, figuring that, hey, nothing's happening here today. We've had our patient for the week, and we're good. Little do they know that it's July 4th weekend and all the Jews have moved in. Now there's 100,000 patients coming in every minute, okay? So for some reason, we have to tell them every single time that we bring in a patient, we have to advise them that we are coming in with a patient, okay? It's extremely annoying, but it is the rule, more or less in everywhere but major cities.
But in New York, you don't, in New York City, you don't
No,
have to know?
no.
There's somebody coming in.
I've heard them.
Unless even if
radio
it's
in.
critical or something?
It's
All right,
critical.
let me finish. So again, patients that are coming in to New York City hospitals, you just drive in, wheel the patient in, wait your turn at triage, and have the nurse assess the patient. That's how it goes. What happens if you're bringing in a critical patient? Now, a critical patient means a patient that you cannot stabilize, you cannot manage, all right? But the first thing you should do if you can't manage a patient is get a medic. Let the medic manage the patient. So now, you called for a medic came. Now, the medic either stabilized the patient or not. Let's say the medic was unable to stabilize the patient. You may want to call the hospital for what's called a notification. I am personally anti-notifications. I do not make notifications, almost never. Almost. Obviously, I have to sometimes. But I am very against notifications, okay? Because the hospital stops everything, they prepare a crew, a team of doctors, and respiratory therapists, and nurses, and all sorts of it, and then you come in, and it's like, do me a favor, okay, this patient's stable. You know, okay, their blood pressure dropped under 90 or something, you know, whoop-de-doo. Right? So I'm talking about critical patient. When do I call? If someone's having a stroke, I need a stroke code called, that I will call ahead. Someone's having a heart attack, and I see it, STEMI, I will call ahead. Because I need those extra people to be alerted.
What about amputation?
Nah, probably not.
You wouldn't?
Throw them in the bag.
Because if you take them
Take them to the right place. They're ready
They're
for it.
waiting.
Okay. Again, I don't want to get into when I would and when I wouldn't. I am always on the side of not calling. Some people call like when they shouldn't, and it bothers me, and it's not necessary. Okay.
So you walk. Otherwise, you wheel the patient.
Wheel the patient in.
And wait by triage.
Wait by triage.
And someone comes to you.
Who do you
Yes.
notify that you want a medic when you pull up?
No, you're in the hospital.
No, when you pull up at the hospital,
Get a doctor
you're
there.
too late to get a medic. Now you're getting a doctor and a nurse.
So what happens if there's a big line and you're in the back of it and you need
Goes
a...
by how critical the patient is.
But how do you message if there's...
You run over to the nurse and say, please come here, my patient's about to die. But that should have been called in, because that patient was too unstable for you. You should have called in, and then you'll get straight into the resus room, right when you walk in. You go straight into a resus
So
room.
when you call, you get prioritized.
Absolutely. First.
When are you calling a medic? When you're on scene, right?
Yeah.
But you're waiting for the medic. What if you can't wait for the medic?
Okay, so I will explain that very simply. If your length of journey from where you are to the hospital is shorter than where the closest medic is to you, then you just go to the hospital. You ask for a medic, you find out their ETA, and then you go. If your trip to the hospital is longer than the ETA of the medic to you, then you wait. The medic is bringing the hospital to the patient. There is almost nothing the medic cannot stabilize. A good one. Okay? They should be able to stabilize everything. Doesn't matter. Patient seizing, patient with low blood pressure, patient with whatever it is. Pain, all these things the medic can deal with. Heart problems can all be dealt with. Tachycardias, bradycardias, all can be dealt with in the back of the
Not
head.
like a stroke or something, obviously.
That's right. A stroke needs a specific.
We need to go to the hospital for that.
Yeah. Oh, they're all going to the hospital.
No, I'm
The
saying we need
question
to go,
is-
meaning it's not gonna help to get them.
Meaning a stroke can go BLS. Yeah, we'll talk about strokes in a later lecture. Alright. These are components of the report that you may want to give. Again, it's just common sense. I've seen this so many times. People get on the air, H-base, I'm bringing in a patient, I need a notification at this and this hospital. Okay, what you got? Patient's got blood pressure of whatever. Okay, what's the pulse? And then you hear him screaming to somebody else, well, what's his pulse? It's bad, it's just bad, okay? You don't want to talk on the radio, all right? Don't be on the radio. If I need a notification, I take out my cell phone, I call into the ER. I have the number to every ER in the whole city. I call them. I say, can I speak to the doctor, please? This is paramedic Eli. I'm bringing in a patient with all the information. And I make sure I have all the information before I even pick up the phone. Okay? I believe this patient is having a stroke. Can you please arrange for a stroke team to meet me? That's it. Very calm. No excitement. Okay? And that's it. You roll in, you know where you go, in each hospital is a special place if you brought in a notification. That's it. And you give it over, and then they'll want to hear it again firsthand.
Do they know you by paramedic Eli?
Yeah, that's how they know.
That's what I'm gonna say.
You got shorter. Yeah. And communicating with patients, all right? So this is something you'll sometimes see on a test. How do you communicate with somebody who is hearing impaired? Okay? Answers they will offer you are shout louder, scream, stuff like that. No, not the right answer. The right answer would be no, you're not expected to know how to do that. The answer is to let them see your lips. Many hearing impaired patients, can lip read. And so if you are talking to them face to face, that's the best way you can do it. Not screaming louder and, one thing and another. Use the language that a patient will understand. In EMS, we used to go to all sorts of patients speaking all sorts of languages. Okay, I was okay with Spanish and Chinese and Russian, but then I had a problem with Arabic and some of these other very, very strange languages. We can call for a translator, translator, yeah, that will get on the phone, get on the air, and talk over the phone with the patient, interpret, get back to you, and give you the information and backwards and forwards. So that is available to you. Every so often you'll hear H-base ask for a Persian translator. Russian is very common. They have Russian translators. I do Spanish translation maybe once a year, maybe. So it's not very, that's usually because the homemade help has called in and, so it's rare.
Who's the agency using? Is it a third-party service? that they're
It's called
calling?
OPI service.
911 has a city service that does the interpretation.
Hatzalah taps into that.
No, Hatzalah has its own, amongst the members, we have Syrians, Persians, Russians, and Spanish-speaking people.
So they'll wake up people in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
They communicate.
Yeah. Yeah. You assign yourself as one of these translators. The most famous Russian translator was a guy called CH10. and all the old people, everybody who was in Hatzalah the last 30 years, 40 years knows CH10.
Still there?
He's still doing it, yeah, and he was the only one for many years. Now there's a few others that do it, but he was the official Hatzalah Russian translator.
Wow, what a title.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a yarmulke Russian translator.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can't speak a word of Russian, but that's besides the point, right?
No, he just doesn't speak English.
Right. That also.
So he called for an English translator.
So every time he used to translate, he used to just say, "Oh, they need to go hospital." Okay, so all right, so that's it. So yeah. Anyway, we used to have fun with him, but he was the official. Yeah, it was on his yarmulke, so it must be true, right? So that's that. Body language. Okay, hearing impaired. Here you go. See, I said it before I even came up with it. Yeah, give the patients a chance to answer questions. Right? You don't want to be like, okay, what's your name? What's bothering you today? Why'd you call us? Like, give them a chance. This is a conversation, right? Okay? Speak to them. Give them respect. Speak respectfully. Don't be, come in with a whole body attitude and, talk to the hand. No, you're coming there to help them, right?
You find out they're adoption.
Okay? I had students that used to walk around with the Heisen, down past the Gatkas and stuff. You can't walk around like that. You gotta come in like a mensch. You gotta look normal. Remember, people look up to EMTs in the outside world. Scary as it may be. Okay? But this is the truth, and you are their doctor for this 20 minutes, half an hour. You are their medical professional. Be it. Be the medical professional. Speak in a calm, confident manner. Okay, whatever else it says here.
That's it. Last one.
It's the last.
Yeah.
What's that?
Ambulance operations. If you cannot see this, it says I am a bomb technician. If you see me running, try to keep up. Okay, it has nothing to do with EMS. All right. So ambulance specification. This is something you need to know, and you might be tested on. We know about Part 800, right? Yes, we do. Oh, yeah, because I didn't teach you the first class.
Right.
Part 800 should have been taught the first day. It's going to be on the new videos that we're going to upload. So when we talk, we'll get that going on. In New York City, different from many places in the country, an ambulance will have 2 EMTs or 2 paramedics. We do not have in 911 system a mix, a hybrid EMT paramedic situation. This is common in other neighborhoods, in other places around the country, not in New York City. You see an ambulance, it's either EMT or it's a medic. One or the other. It's not a hybrid mixture.
What are the ones we're gonna be on? You don't know? Either?
EMT.
How do you
You'll
get it?
only be on EMT. Let me tell you how you know the difference. Very simple. This is good for you to know. In New York City, works like this. Letters A through R for Robert. If the ambulance has a name, A through R, they are a BLS EMT ambulance only. So you are all going to be on either Ida or Frank. That falls between A and R. Those are EMT ambulances. If your ambulance has a name, S through Z, that will be paramedic ambulance. So Sam, Tom, Union, Victor, Will, these are all ALS ambulances. Okay? Adam, Boyd, Charlie, David, etc. are all BLS ambulances. Alright? So the ones you're on are Ida and Frank, I and F. They're both within the first
How
rank.
you get up to the KKK
What's the
one?
KKK?
It's a code.
That's in the Bronx.
It's a code. It's a code called the KKK. It's a federal code, I think. National standard for ambulances. And that's what they got. All right.
Any other 3 letters.
Stuff, yeah, they picked those. Yeah. So, stuff you've got to know. I will be honest, it looks definitely better on his pictures than it does even on the board. I will be honest, okay?
Well, let me get one.
So, here we go. Listen to this, you will need to know. Listen. You will need to know this. There are 3 ambulance styles, and you need to know the difference between them. Type 1. This is called a Type 1 ambulance. Pretty much only FDNY ambulances are Type 1. Pretty much. How do I know it's Type 1? Very simple. It has a driver's cab. It has a box on the back. And you cannot walk from here to here. You understand? It is a non-walk through. You cannot walk from the back to the front. There is a window over here in the back of the cab that you can talk to the driver. However, you cannot walk from back to front. The only real ambulances that have these Type 1s, I think in New York, are FDNY.
Is there a reason?
They think there is.
Safety?
Alright?
Probably.
Type 2. This is what all Hatzalah ambulances used to look like. Back when I joined, certainly. You will not see many of these left in New York City. But if you go into Jersey, Passaic and Deal and all these smaller upstart Hatzalahs that are coming up, you will see a lot of these.
Are they cheaper?
Still uses
Converted van, it's much cheaper, yeah.
But here, you see like those ambulance ones and...
Right. First of all, I'm just mentioning Hatzalah. Now, the ambulances that you will be riding on may look like these. They may. They're a converted van walk through. Means there's a small opening over here, and you can crawl through between the back and the front. Okay, again, why you would need to do this on a regular basis, you know, I've maybe done it once in 20 years, climbing gone between the, but that's just the way it is. So it looks like a converted van. It is a Type 2, right? And the last type, Type 3, are all the Hatzalah ambulances that you've ever seen, and most of the private hospital ambulances that you see. Not the transport. The transports use a lot of 2s, like Assist. I don't know which companies you see around here. RCA all use Type 2s. Senior Care have both. Okay, so, alright, these are all your Hatzalah ambulances pretty much look like these.
Even
This is
the
a
new ones-
walkthrough.
Even the new ones that's all it has?
It's not exactly a real walkthrough, you gotta climb over the seat.
That's a walk.
No, you don't.
can get through the cabin.
No, the seat is over to the
Does it
side.
have next door?
What's
the difference between what's the real difference between 2 and 3? Just the shape?
Shape. Okay? That's it. Let's not waste too much time on it. Alright, let's talk about lights and sirens. When are you allowed to use, yeah,
Without words, Type 2 and 3 are the same words.
yeah,
On a test, whatever.
but Type 2 looks like a van, modified van.
Who really
Type
cares?
3, no, nobody.
Type 2 is a modified van, Type 3 is...
Type 3 has a cab and a chassis. Box. Nobody cares, it's just something you're supposed to know, alright?
Alright, so it's not a test.
It's something they want EMTs to know, that's all. Just know it. When can you use lights and sirens? Or when should you use lights and sirens, okay? So there are only 2 instances when lights and sirens are allowed to be used. One is going 63. That means leaving wherever you are and going to the call. You're going 63, should be lights and sirens. The other time that you should use lights and sirens, or when you take that patient from their location to the hospital. That means you're going 82. That's it. These are the only 2 times you're allowed to use lights and sirens. Now, when you're using lights and sirens in New York City, you are granted privileges, not rights. Privileges, there is a big difference. For example, if you get into an accident, it will be your fault. You cannot say, oh, it's their fault because I'm on an emergency. No, wrong answer.
Does that apply to cops as well?
Yep. Okay?
The fact that they're licensed sirens does not.
So, what are you allowed to do while you're driving lights and sirens? These are some of the things. You're allowed to exceed the speed limit. You're allowed to stop your ambulance no matter what it says, don't stop it. You can go past a red light. You can disregard. This means you can go the wrong way on a one-way street.
What about past the train, when the train thing is down?
No, you probably don't want to do that. In New York City, we don't have any train things.
Applicable here.
We have it.
Only in Long Island.
He goes, keep going.
Yeah. You're also allowed to make an illegal left turn across a divider triangle on the floor
Sally does
that
that now.
apparently you're not allowed to.
Sally does that now. Because he said he's taking, he said it's the EMT school.
Yeah.
And someone now I notice does not usually go against traffic. Is that correct?
No.
Depends.
Cars or the.
In New York, I
Depends.
don't
We
see-
try not to, but sometimes you have no choice. You do.
So for the most part.
We try not to, yeah.
So
Okay.
you can
Oh,
park-
listen, here's the key. These 3 words. While exercising, due regard. Meaning, it's your responsibility. You're going through a red light, you better make sure every single lane has seen you and heard you and stopped. Don't just think, oh, I've got lots of lights and lots of noise, that they're gonna stop. No, they are not. Okay?
Is
Even
this
when they
all-
see you, they don't stop.
But
Right.
there's only,
Only
such,
fire
there's only
trucks
such a
just-
limit.
Seriously, when I
Like,
shoot those guys.
like I know I've heard that by the fire department they have to slow down by the light, you know, to let them know and everything. But then they just go.
No, don't you have to stop at
We
red light?
have to stop. Complete stop.
Complete stop.
Complete stop.
By red lights.
No, it's an ambulance. He was saying
And-
that he's saying.
Okay,
that-
if you're in an accident, you were probably wrong.
Once going back to the parking, even if it's not an
You have to
emergency.
stop.
No, this is all on an
Only
emergency.
on an emergency.
Okay?
Not for coffee.
The most common location for intersections are? The most common location for accidents are intersections. Now, there is a course that you can take. It's not included in this course. It's called CIVO, and we can discuss this at a later date. Not right now.
What does it do? About what?
About driving an ambulance.
And obey the instructions of a police officer, even if they're a moron, and they're telling you to do something stupid. You have to sometimes explain to them, okay, that, you know, no, I need to do this because whatever it is. And remember this one, Good Samaritan laws do not protect you for driving accidents, okay? You cannot get a phone call from your buddy tonight, says he's cut his finger, and you're like, okay, I'm coming over, right? And you get into an accident, Good Samaritan laws, I'm all protected. No, you're not. Okay? Here's some accidents, okay? We're trying to block out so you won't know which ambulance it is. All right, test question.
Ellie,
Upwind.
test question.
Yeah, every test.
You had a question?
No, he said test question.
You said that.
Yeah.
You said that's question.
I did.
Echoing.
You're trying to.
All right.
I repeat.
Where do you park your ambulance at a hazmat, hazardous material, hazardous material, it's a rhetorical question. Where do you park your ambulance at a hazmat scene? And it's very simple, okay? You need to park always uphill, upwind, upstream, and up yours, okay? These are the 4 places you gotta park, all right? There will be questions on this. Uphill, upwind, and upstream. This is where you gotta park, all right? So if you're at a hazmat scene, here's our chemical, okay? Here's our ambulance, and here's our wind flow direction. Are we good?
Where's the wind flow? Is it up yours?
Yeah, this slide is not moving.
Uphill, upwind.
We need some animations.
Yes, this is an animated slide, but because we're in
It needs to be
sheets
spinning.
and not in,
Oh, ambulance is gone.
Oh, it's.
yeah, but the direction,
Yeah. we need emphasis.
I have no idea which way is up.
And an
So if the upwind would be where the wind is going this direction,
Well, not in this case, I can't tell.
right, but
Now we're gonna get it
because
wrong.
it's not working.
That's
So
downwind.
you face
side
where
is
the
down.
wind is going?
We're going in the direction
Upwind.
of the wind.
Well, you know, upwind, uphill,
What does that mean?
Upstream.
and
What
upwards.
does that mean though?
Uh-huh. You're facing-
It means that when you get a question, where do you park your ambulance, you write upwind. That's what it means,
When he's actually parking the ambulance.
okay?
Facing the hazmat, the wind is at your back, blowing the direction of the hazmat.
And you're uphill.
You are
Up there.
up,
Okay.
up yours.
And if you're over the hill?
Alright, we do not go into hot zones, I'm gonna talk about different types of equipment, protective equipment. The people with the right equipment are prepared, they go into the hot zone, they bring the patients out, get decontaminated, and then we deal with them, okay?
Have you ever been on a call, something like that?
Yeah, let's just keep going. There's a question on a test. Could be in the state, could be in the school test. What book must be found on every ambulance in New York State?
2000.
Okay? The what book? It's not a Siddur or a Chumash. What book must be found on every every ambulance in New York State? The answer is the Orange Book. Okay? It's called the Orange Book. That's the name.
Seriously?
That's what they
Yeah.
found in the test?
Yeah.
Question's gonna say the orange.
The Orange Book. This is it. Okay,
What color
lists. It's a very boring read. I have one. It's extremely boring. The last time they updated it was in the year 2000. I don't think there's been a later publication. And it's just boring. It's just lists of names of chemicals. And it's complete nonsense. It has to be on every single ambulance. Test question. Make sure you know the Orange Book. Okay, more test questions. Okay, here we go. Now, for those of you with the nice color print, this looks really good. And I noticed it before, this
This is
picture.
on the FEMA test.
Okay? Alright, here we go. Listen carefully. This is important. You must know this. It goes in two different directions, okay? Let's start over here. Alright? Now, this poor schmuck is going to die no matter what. Pretty much the only thing he is allowed to do dressed like this is change a diaper. And that's why it's called level D.
Dead.
Okay?
Dead.
Well, or for prepping to change, maybe to change a diaper. Okay?
okay.
That is how you should be dressed. That is all it will protect you from, possibly. And this is the least level, this is what, you know, this is what a solid guy might look like at a hazmat situation. We are not prepared for this, we are not trained for this.
Airborne things, they're like little regular stuff pathogens.
Yeah, changing a diaper, level D. That's all
You don't
I
have a filter, you have to protect yourself.
Okay? So this is it, okay? This is all we've got, this is all Hatsal's gonna have to give
No
you.
hazmat stuff?
They have this. Okay? Maybe not the gown, but the mask and the gloves. Alright? If you're in a wealthier neighborhood, maybe the gown. I highly doubt it. Alright? So, again, this guy, he can change a diaper, he's level D, that's it. Then we have levels C and B. Nobody really cares about them. They're all gonna die anyway because they don't have a breathing scuba situation thing, so they're gonna die just as well. The only one who may survive is this guy, okay? This guy, he's about to clear the snow or something, so he's properly dressed. He has breathing apparatus. He's completely encapsulated. He's not breathing any outside air. And what's very important to know is that this is called level A, and he is prepared for the worst toxicity level emergency, which is known as level 4. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, but A, B, C diaper. Okay? Yes? We getting this?
So let's get the test question. I'm saying, how would they phrase that?
Which one?
Level A
is
toxicity level.
What would you lose for level
Your partner's dressed in level A, and you're dressed in level D.
Yeah, it said
Who
like
goes
there's a
in first?
radiological.
So level
We'll
A,
need a new partner tomorrow.
level A would be fully encapsulated.
Trick question.
You know, they're just safe, okay? Level 4 toxicity is where minimal contact would cause death. Okay, so almost as bad as changing a diaper. Okay? And then, you know, it just goes from there, okay? Minimal protections.
SCBVA, so that's.
Don't worry about
Scuba,
it.
self-contained breathing apparatus as opposed
Okay.
to self-contained
Alright, two large words
breathing apparatus.
that we're going to discuss. Two larger words, okay? Again, I have seen these on state exams. The difference between the word extrication and disentanglement, okay? So here's how to really understand it very simply. Are you removing the patient from the vehicle, or you're removing the vehicle from the patient? Think of it like that, and you will understand these two words. Extrication means that I'm able to open the door somewhat, take the patient out, and I have what? I've extricated the patient from the vehicle. The more serious situation will be where you cannot open a door and remove the patient. No, you have to actually bring in heavy machinery, things called the jaws of life, and other tools, and the fire department loves to play with this stuff. ESU is pretty happy to do it also, whoever gets that first, because you don't want both, because they don't like each other in a really serious way. So, this is it. Do we extricate a patient, or do we do disentanglement? Know the difference between these two words. It's very simple. It's just definitions, okay? Airbags.
I was saying, why are we doing a lecture on this and then we had homework on this?
When I was just now in South Africa, they have, when they come to a scene of a motor vehicle accident and the airbags have not been deployed, they carry on their ambulances a special, shield that you put over the steering wheel while you're working on the patient, so that the airbag does not deploy and hit you in the head while you're working. I've never seen it in the United States. Certainly I haven't seen it in EMS. They obviously do a lot more car accidents at MVAs than we do, but
Nobody, they all run the red lights over there.
Carjacking.
Oh, speaking of which, reminder to show the
Yeah,
helmet
stop
so that's something about the airbags, but not something you'd be tested on. All right, hazards of the scene. Again, remember day one. If the scene is unsafe, get back, call for backup, call for additional resources, no matter what it is. All right. These are all possible things that, obviously love this, try the doors before breaking the windows, right? Get out, you can't get out, right, let's smash a window. No, first try the doors, all 4 doors, see if one is available. Okay? MCI, alright, let's talk about MCI. So an MCI we define as more patients than resources. That's how we're going to define it. Okay? If there's any time where there are more patients than resources, for example, if you show up and a school bus has been flipped with 60 kids on it, and you and Bob show up, in your little ambulance, now there's 2 of you and potentially 60 patients, right? So do we have more patients than resources? Yes, we do. We have an MCI. When the plane lands in the Hudson River, do we have an MCI?
Depends if self
Potential, right? Well, it's a potential MCI until we find out that nobody was harmed or killed. So things like this. Obviously the Twin Towers, 9/11, these are MCIs. Now the city of New York establishes an MCI in any residential multi-dwelling fire. They establish an MCI right away because they have no idea where this is going to go to, how many people are involved in an apartment building or in a big row of houses where things can catch very quickly from one to the next. So fire department in the city establishes MCIs very quickly. They don't wait for too much information. And the reason we're going to talk about MCI and how it's going to change our whole situation, what we do. ICS is the Incident Command System. Everything changes at an MCI. I want to talk about triage. Triage comes from a French word, which means to sort. To sort. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to sort our patients and we're going to assign them colors. Okay? And based on the color that we assign them, we'll decide when they're going to be treated and how they're going to be treated. I want to go to this page, okay? So this is stuff you will be tested on. On every state exam, there is a question all the way at the end, and there will be a question such as, the following occurred, let's say car accident or whatever it was. These are your patients. Who is the highest priority? And then it will list 4 patients. Or the question will read similar. Who is your lowest priority? If you get that one, it's a much easier question. I'll explain why in a minute, okay? So, here's what happens, okay? Come on scene, there's you and me with a crew, all right? And there's a whole bunch of people that have been hurt, injured, whatever it is, whatever happened, doesn't matter. Okay, so what do we do? There's you and me, okay? What do we do? Who do we go to first? Who do we help? Right? How do we figure this out? So what we need to do is split everybody into these 4 categories. And you carry on your ambulance special cards. I may have a picture of it later. And what you do is the cards have perforated parts to the card.
2 more slides.
Okay? And you tear off the right color and you give them the rest of the card. So they're left with the card showing what color they are. Okay, so how do we do this? So I arrive on scene, it says 30 patients. 30 patients, you and me. What do we do? What do we do? How do I know who to deal with first? Who should I go to? So here's some of the things you can do. First thing you can do is find out who are what we call the walking wounded. Okay, these are green tags. And what I do is I'll make an announcement. I will say, can anybody walk away down the hallway to the end of the hallway? Bob is waiting for you over there. Now, he may or may not be, it doesn't matter. But eventually we will assign somebody, right? We need to get them out of the way, okay? Who can walk, okay? Someone's going to address your needs right away. And we need to get rid of them. We need to get them out. So they're not in my count anymore. I don't need, and you'll be over there. Anyone that leaves the room, give them a green tag. So you pull off the black or whatever, and you give them the green tag. They are the walking wounded. They go over there to another section, and an EMT eventually will come and deal with them. Okay? They probably have minor cuts, lacerations, whatever it says that, they're green musculoskeletal injuries, broken arm, they can still walk, right? Anyone that can walk, go over there. Good. Now we have to find out who are black tag. Black tag are people who are dead. Dead. And in MCI, mass casualty, we have no time for the dead. Even though when we usually come on scene to one person who's dead, we will give it all we've got, spend an hour, spend whatever we got to do, try to revive somebody, resuscitate. In MCI, they are the lowest priority, they are black tag. So obvious death, cardiac arrest, or they have mortal injuries where they're not breathing, stuff that we cannot deal with. We don't have the resources. Remember, it's just him and me. So we go around.
Those aren't skin colors, right?
It's good you asked.
Okay, I just want to double check.
Okay.
That's based on the color system.
Right, it is.
And some of the material's very old, so I didn't know how old.
It's old, yeah. And I just came back from South Africa. All things being equal, that makes sense, right? So they will be black tag, and we will leave them to die, or they're already dead. We'll just put a tag around their neck, and then all the things will be showing, so it'll be black, so now we don't need to deal with that. So have we found our highest priority patients yet? No, we haven't. No, we haven't. Are me and my partner going to treat any of the patients? No, we're not. What's our job? Triage. Identifying, figuring out, being scene command. Now, once a supervisor, a lieutenant, a captain, someone with a white helmet from the fire department shows up, now
Surgeon General.
he takes over scene command. Now you and I become a resource to treat patients. Okay, who are we gonna treat? So we need to find our red tag patients, all right? Red tag patients are our highest priority. That's who we need to treat, okay? Well, who's red tagged? If you look at the list, okay, pretty much you can understand, I want to understand the concept of the red tag. It's somebody that if an EMT gets a hold of that patient, they're going to make a positive difference. There's something you can do to actually prevent this patient from dying.
Make a black tag.
No.
Or from having a heart attack.
I'm kidding.
No, right, red tag. So,
You can do
airway,
something to prevent them from having a heart attack.
no, to prevent them from dying. Having a heart attack is a very, very specific medical.
Cardiac arrest.
No, that's cardiac arrest, that's dead.
Oh, dead.
They don't treat a heart attack guy.
Okay?
Because they can spend all the resources on that while 14 other people who they could have
Okay.
will die.
So this is the system that we use. So take a look. Airway or breathing problems. Can an EMT help somebody with an airway or breathing problem? That means they are breathing, something's stuck in their airway. Do you know how to suction an airway? Do you know how to put in an OPA? Yes, you do. Do you know how to give them oxygen? Yes, you do. So can an EMT help with an airway or breathing problem and prevent this patient from dying?
Yes.
Absolutely, great thing to do. Uncontrolled severe bleeding.
Yeah.
This is something an EMT can do, right? You can control severe bleeding. You can stop them from going into hemorrhagic shock, right? You know how to stop bleeding, right? We taught you the other night. Of course you know how to stop bleeding. You've got many tools. So that's a great thing. Decompensated shock.
What does that mean? The question is around your life, I guess, about.
Don't let me see. I'm gonna go into shock if I look. Just do it quick.
Psychogenic shock.
What is decompensated shock?
It's when
Stage.
It's when the body gave up.
Yeah, and how do we know if the patient is...
No pulse, radio.
Peripheral pulse.
In the extremity.
Well, there may be weak peripheral pulses. That's not the way I taught you to define decompensated shock. How do we define it?
Their blood pressure.
Blood pressure, finish sentence.
Under 90.
Under 90. Right, so if we took all of you, maybe we can make an EMT out of it. Alright, almost. Alright, very good.
One bus and 16 EMTs.
Right. And almost an EMT.
We won't need an MCI.
Right. So again, decompensated shock I defined as... Obviously you all need to know this again.
Low systolic pulse of
No, I don't like low. Give me a number.
90. Under 90.
Thank you. Systolic less than 90.
Over peak.
Severe burns. Severe burns can be treated by an EMT?
Yes.
Yes. Can you prevent a patient from dying by treating those severe burns? Stopping the burning process, doing all that good stuff. So this is the sort of thing you need to know. You will be tested more or less on being able to identify a red tag patient. Okay, that's something you should be doing in your reading, looking up, reading more about red tag, and the black tag, the lowest priority, are always easy to notice. Right, Ellie? Skin color?
Yes. You can see it.
You can see it.
How do you write a tourniquet on a black patient?
So you don't actually treat anybody
How do you write TK?
until you tag everybody?
You gotta tag everybody. Everybody else will be yellow. They're not red, they're yellow. Now, just an interesting fact. New York City
You see, well, I asked how do you write TK on the black person's forehead. He said,
Whiteout.
You do it on the lips.
You could use whiteout.
We're setting the US back a good 60 years since class.
60? I think like 300, okay? What was it, the slaves in the 1600s or something, no?
1850s, yeah, right.
New York City has invented the orange tag. Okay, so we now have another tag. Won't be on your New York State exam. I'm just telling you for your own knowledge. We now have an orange tag. Who gets the orange tag? All right. So this is somebody
In between right
who has. Yep. Very good.
Orange bucket.
This is somebody who has become sick or ill,
On the
but was involved in the accident or whatever, but was not in a trauma situation. For example, somebody gets an asthma attack because of the car accident that they were in. Somebody's having chest pain,
psychogenic shock.
right? No, psychogenic shock is going to be green tag. They're going to walk off, all right? Somebody is having chest pain. These are serious medical emergencies, but it's happening at the time of the MCI, but it's not making them red tag, okay? So New York City has established an orange tag, and you know, I don't have any slides on it, and it's not New York State. Here are your tags.
1 second, it's on the test, the orange tag?
No.
No, it's New York City.
And I
Here are your tags. These are what we use on most ambulances. There's a string goes through there. Black means you rip off all these. If they're green, you give them the whole tag. If they're yellow, you rip off the green, etc., etc.
Where do you put it? Where do you give it to them?
You give it to them. You hang it around their neck.
So you're saying
Not the toe.
if God forbid you're ever a victim and someone puts all the entire tag and you rip it
Rip
off
off
and
one.
make sure you're
Rip
red.
off.
Right, but if you're able to rip
Somebody got
off
the
the
black
bottom
tag.
one, then they shouldn't have given you a black tag. Right? Because you gotta be dead to be black. Or you gotta be black to be dead.
So you rip off all the ones that you don't want? It's like
Yes.
food.
It's another type of tag. We don't really see these very often, but the other one is definitely common.
We're done. There's no more.
That's a quick question.